Well, it's mind-boggling to me in a lot of different ways, and I think in a lot of ways, if we really look at this from 30,000 feet, it's mind-boggling the job that Kelvin Sampson has done since he was named the head coach of Houston. But if I had to pick one coach right now to build a program, and it was at the bottom that it was possible to be at, I would pick Kelvin Sampson.
The list of coaches who could do that is very, very short, and there's a decent chance it might be a list of one, Kelvin Sampson.
Well, Mayor, it's good to know I don't have to coach anymore. This season, since we're going to be in the Final Four, I don't even have to hurry back and get back to practice today. But I do want to congratulate the Astros on the last two nights. I'm glad Dusty figured out how to coach the team since he forgot that one night. Which reminds me how fragile and how common being a coach is. I have two different emails. One's not hard to find. Just go on the U of H athletics website and you'll see how to email the old ball coach at U of H. And then I have a personal email that I hope you never find. So we're playing a game last year. I have a couple big kids that try as they might, don't always make all their free throws. They practice. Coaches actually think kicking field goals and extra points and punting, which is special teams in football, right? When basketball, special teams are baseline out of bounds plays, late game situations, sideline out of bounds plays. When you come out of a timeout, what are you going to run? How are you going to guard the other team? Those are all things you have to be prepared for. But I think our record going into conference last year was 11-2. Our two losses were at Alabama. Don't get me started on that one. And then the other one was against University of Wisconsin in the Maui tournament, which of course was not played in Maui. It was played in Las Vegas because of COVID. But both those games came down to the last shot. We lost one by 2, and we lost one by 1. But if you go back and look at what happened during the course of the game, we didn't shoot free throws very well. So when I got back from Tuscaloosa, I have an administrative assistant that pulls all my emails that he thinks I should look at. So he kind of pulled a cruel joke on me. I had 25 emails just killing me about free throw shooting. And they were all, Coach, why don't we work on free throws? Why don't you guys bring somebody in to help you shoot free throws? So the staff meeting the next day, I bring those emails and I put them in front of the assistant coaches. I said, guys, I just got some of the greatest advice I've ever had. Not in a million years what I would have ever thought that we needed to work on free throws. And I've got all these great fans / coaches that reminded us that, I looked at Kellen and Quarles and Hollis. Why didn't you guys come up with that? You guys are the assistant coaches. You should tell me, Coach, free throw shooting is important. Why don't we work on shooting free throws? Because it's right here in black and white. You need to start working on shooting free throws. So, Mayor, I'm sure you get no advice. Mr. Ellis, I'm sure you don't get any advice. It's amazing. It's amazing. I do something that everybody else can do. I can't do what you guys do. But I'll be damned if y'all can't do what I do. So I've got this little clock down here telling me how much time I have left. So I've already used 4 of my minutes. So I better get going here. I don't know what's going to happen if that buzzer sounds. When I took over the University of Houston basketball program, I don't mince words a lot, so let's call it what it was. It was in horrible shape. No facilities, no plan. 16 years prior to my arrival, they had 4 coaches. My math says that every 4 years they fired a coach. And they kept hiring coaches, but nothing changed. So, like most coaches today, you have an agent. So I have an agent that comes to me with whatever opportunities are out there, and I'll say yay or nay. But when he came to me with University of Houston, he had 2 or 3 other schools that was interested. He said, these guys want to hire you. These guys want to interview you. But he said, Houston, they just want to talk to you. I said, well, tell me something about it. I was coaching the Rockets, but I really didn't know a lot about University of Houston. I heard terms like Cougar High. I didn't know what that meant. I wasn't even sure I knew the nickname. Cougar High, commuter school, this, that. I wound up taking the job under the promise that we would build facilities. Not sure if the administration was totally committed, so they gave me a contract. I wouldn't sign the contract. My agent and I drew up another contract. That contract was tied to dates when construction would start, dates when a construction fence would be put up. So I was tied to accountability. And that's been the crux of why we've had the success we've had. Every year for the last 5 years, we've lost 4 starters. My top 4 players last year was Tajay Moore, who's playing professionally in Istanbul, Turkey. Kyler Edwards, who's with the Detroit Pistons. Josh Carlton, who's on an A1 team in France. And Fabian White Jr., good old Atascocita High Schools with the Los Angeles Lakers. So I lost all those guys. So we had to replace them. So in preseason, they got us picked somewhere in the top 10, top 5, wherever. And we keep losing all these players. So why is it that even though we lose 4 starters every year, that there's an expectation for us to win? And I think it's the 3 things we build our program on. Number 1 is standards. Standards. I can never have a bad practice. I'm not allowed. I'm the leader. There's 3 people in our program and I hold them accountable for this. You cannot have a bad day of practice. That's the head coach, the point guard, and whoever your best player is. I coach my team through my best player. I'm harder on him than anybody else. The Associated Press, National Association of Basketball Coaches, all these internet sites, pick a first-team All-American team. One of our guards is a first-team preseason All-American. His name is Marcus Sasser. Marcus put his name in the NBA draft last year. Not last year, it was this past June. And there's 30 NBA teams. There's 60 picks in the draft. There's somewhere between 1,500 and 2,200 kids that think they're going to be drafted. If you don't believe me, ask their agents. The agents lie to these kids and tell them they're going to be drafted. I don't mind using the word lie because that's what they do, Mayor. They lie to them. My grandmother was kind of the same way. She said fib. When's the last time you heard fib? So Marcus decided to come back even though the Boston Celtics had the 53rd pick in the draft, and they promised Marcus if he stayed in, he would be drafted 53rd. Well, Marcus decided to come back because he thought he could continue to develop and maybe be a first-round draft choice this year. But therein lies one of the secrets to our success is our player development. But standards. What are your standards? How do you hold yourself accountable for how you're going to prepare today? We've got practice at 3 o'clock this afternoon. When I put that whistle around my neck and I walk on that court, I have a major, major responsibility to those young men that came to play for me here at the University of Houston. And that's to prepare them to be the best they can be. So I set the standard for our staff, our trainers, our strength coaches, everybody who comes under the University of Houston basketball umbrella. We have high standards. The second thing is expectations. We expect to win. Now, some people haven't grasped that we have one of the best basketball programs in the country because they're shocked when we beat certain schools, like our speakers, University of Illinois. University of Illinois is a great program. University of Arizona is a great program, but so is University of Houston. And sometimes you have to do things to get people to understand the level that you're at. But we have an expectation at University of Houston in our basketball program that we can play with and beat anybody. It doesn't matter because that's how we prepare. Those are our standards. Expectations has to start within the program. You know, people talk about pressure. You know, what's the worst thing can happen? You lose a game. You know, that's going to happen. You know, last year our record was 32-6. The year before that it was 28-4. The year before that was COVID, but the year before that it was 33-5, and the year before that it was 27-6. But those are the standards that we have set for our program. Those are the expectations that we expect. But here's number 3, and I think this is the key: accountability. The leadership that fails usually starts with being passive aggressive. I coached in the NBA for 6 years. You know why most NBA coaches get fired? They're afraid to coach their best player. Your best player has a lot to do with your team's personality, what time they get to practice, what time they leave, the work ethic that they have during the time they're at practice. When I left college, my first NBA gig was with the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs' best players was a guy by the name of Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker. Every single day when I went down to the court for practice, let's say usually in the NBA you practice in the morning around 11. Coaches meet around 9:30 or 10. You go to the court after your coaches' meetings, players are on the court. When I walked into the coach's office at 9:30, I always heard the ball bouncing. So I went around to see who it was. It's Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker, working with the development coaches on some part of their game. That's leadership. That's why they were so good. Their best players set the tone. Whoever your main people are on your staff, are they your hardest workers? Now, I get a lot of credit for us winning, but I'm going to tell you why we win. I have a great staff. My staff doesn't get enough credit. And I've learned as I've gotten older to make sure you tell the people that you entrust with your work, tell them how good they are. Don't let today go by without telling somebody on your staff what a great job they did. They need that feedback. It's important to them because they wonder, how do you feel about me? It's amazing how many people want to hold things over you, work harder without giving you some feedback. Raise your hand if you're not the boss and you'd like for your boss to give you some feedback. Raise your hand. Absolutely. 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 So bosses, if they're doing a crappy job, tell them. But if they're doing a good job or a great job, tell them that too. It's amazing how they stick their chest out, hold their head up, and look forward to coming to work the next day because you just gave them something to feel good about. Self-esteem. Self-esteem. The easiest people in the world to motivate are the people with the highest self-esteem. Now, I get on my kids. I get on them hard, but I love them, and they know I love them. And I'm not afraid to tell them I love them. And you have to be able to do that with the people you're with every day. They need feedback. They need positive feedback. And if it's not positive feedback, tell them something that will help them be better in their jobs. But do not communicate. Programs, entities that don't communicate eventually are just going to erode. Those things are built in sand. They're going to just go right off into the beach. But those that are built in cement are built around high self-esteem, success that comes from your preparation and your work. Last year when we got to the NCAA tournament and that light is blinking, We had to play UAB to advance, beat UAB. We had to play University of Illinois to advance, beat University of Illinois. Had to play University of Arizona. They were all conference champions. Illinois the Big Ten, Arizona in the Pac-12 advanced. Then we had to go play the Big East champion, Villanova. Now, had we had a bad shooting night, we might have won, but we had a historically bad shooting night. But we had a chance to win the game because we could guard, and we could rebound, and we could take care of the ball. So basics are important, but, and I'm talking to the leaders now. Lead by example, but build up your people's self-esteem. When our kids leave practice today, I'm going to have them walking on water. I'm going to have them chewing wood and spitting it at people because they're going to think they're the greatest ever. And it doesn't take that much effort to do that. Positivity. Tell them you love them. Tell them how much you appreciate them. Tell them what a great job they're doing. And do that before you go home today. Thank you, and go Cougs.